The elevator she never meant to enter. Rain hammered against the glass walls of the Sterling Corporate Tower, the tallest and most intimidating building in the entire city. To most people, stepping inside felt like entering another world, a world of power, wealth, and authority. To Amira Hale, however, it felt like walking into a storm she wasn't prepared for. She clutched her portfolio to her chest, trying to hide the slight tremor in her hands. She wasn't nervous about the job interview. She needed the job so desperately that fear had simply turned into determination. What terrified her more was the reputation of the company's owner, Damian Sterling, the billionaire CEO rumored to fire employees for the smallest mistakes. Amira kept her head down as she hurried toward the elevator, her shoes squeaking from the rain. She didn't even check which elevator she stepped into. She pressed the button for the 38th floor, the recruitment floor, and exhaled slowly. Just as the doors were about to close, a hand slid between them. The doors opened again. A man stepped in. Not just any man. Even without looking directly at him, the air shifted. His presence was sharp, cold, powerful. He was tall, dressed in a charcoal suit tailored so perfectly it looked carved onto him. His scent, clean, expensive, spread through the elevator. Amira swallowed. She dared to lift her eyes, only for a second. Her breath caught. Damian Sterling. The same Damian whose face appeared on magazine covers, business channels, billboards. The same man who built his empire before age 35. The same CEO no one dared speak to unless spoken to first. And she was trapped inside an elevator with him. Damian didn't glance at her. His jaw was tight, his eyes focused on the glowing floor numbers. But tension radiated from him like thick smoke. He looked irritated, as though he had just come from a meeting that went horribly wrong. The silence inside the elevator stretched painfully. Then it happened. A loud thud echoed as the elevator suddenly jerked to a stop. Amira gasped, grabbing the metal railing. The lights flickered, then stabilized. Damian pressed the emergency button immediately, his voice calm and crisp as he reported the malfunction. When he ended the call, silence once again spilled between them. Minutes passed. Amira tried to stay still, but panic crept in. She hated tight spaces, hated the feeling of being trapped. Her breathing grew shallow. Damian's sharp eyes flicked toward her when he noticed the way she clutched her chest. Then softly, he asked the first question no one expected from a man like him. "Are you afraid of elevators?" Amira's cheeks flushed. "No, sir, just confined spaces." He nodded once, strangely gentle. "It should resume soon. They're fixing it." But for Amira, the walls were already shrinking. She tried to distract herself by talking, anything to stop her own spiraling thoughts. But the first thing that came out of her mouth was the one thing she never intended to say. "I've never been in an elevator with someone like you before." Damian raised an eyebrow. "Someone like me?" "A billionaire. Someone so important." She felt her face heat up. "Someone I should never even be near. Honestly, I'm not used to anything like this. I don't even—" She stopped suddenly, realizing what she was about to confess out of panic. Damian's gaze sharpened. "You don't even what?" he asked. Amira looked down at her trembling hands. "I don't even have much experience with life, with men, with relationships. I was raised to stay away from all of that." Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. "I've never even—" She tightened her throat. She couldn't finish. But Damian understood. His usually unreadable expression changed, just a flicker, but enough to show surprise, shock, something human beneath the cold exterior. "You're telling me," he said slowly, "that no one has ever—" She nodded, mortified. The elevator felt too quiet, too intimate. He studied her for a long moment, really studying her, as if he was trying to piece together someone he had never seen before. "Why would you tell me this?" he asked softly, his voice losing its edge. "Because," she voiced cracked, "because I'm scared, and you look like someone who would know exactly what to do in situations like this." Something unspoken passed between them, a shift, a tenderness he didn't expect, and she definitely didn't. Damien looked away for the first time, running his hand through his hair. Just then, the elevator jolted back to life. They remained silent until the doors opened. But as Amira stepped out, Damien spoke, voice low, controlled, and far more gentle than anyone would ever believe. "Miss Hale, you're coming with me." She froze. Her heart dropped. Was he firing her before she even applied? Damien stepped out behind her, his eyes steady on hers. "You're coming with me." Amira froze in the hallway, her pulse hammering in her ears. She wasn't sure she heard him correctly. Damien Sterling, the billionaire CEO feared by an entire corporation, was standing in front of her, his expression unreadable, his tone firm yet strangely gentle. "You're coming with me," he repeated. Her heart dropped straight to her stomach. I don't understand, sir. I had an interview on the 38th floor. I can't just—" "You won't be needing that interview." His eyes didn't waver. "You're coming to my office instead." Her throat tightened. Her legs felt weak. For a terrifying moment, she thought this was the moment her life changed for the worse, that he planned to reprimand her for speaking too freely in the elevator. But then, why would his voice sound like someone who wasn't angry at all? He gestured for her to walk beside him, not behind him. That gesture alone told her something was different. The hallway was quiet, and every step she took echoed loudly in her ears. She kept her head down as they walked to the private elevator, his elevator, the only one he was allowed to use. She hesitated. Damien noticed. "It's safe," he said quietly. "I promise." She didn't know why, but she believed him. They stepped inside. This elevator was completely different. Smooth mahogany walls, soft lighting, and not a single button except one: penthouse floor. As it ascended, Amira could feel Damien glancing at her, but she kept her eyes on the glowing floor indicator. The silence between them wasn't uncomfortable this time. It felt charged, like something had shifted in that stuck elevator, and neither of them fully understood it yet. When the doors opened, Amira's breath caught. The penthouse floor wasn't just an office. It was an entire private world. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the skyline, clouds drifting across the glass like slow-moving whispers. Every surface was sleek, modern, immaculate. A long glass desk sat near the windows, and behind it, a city that seemed to bow before its king. Damien walked ahead, shrugging off his suit jacket and draping it over a chair. Then he turned to face her. Really face her. "Sit," he said gently, pointing to a chair across from him. Amira did, her fingers clutching her portfolio like a shield. "Miss Hale," he began, his voice calm, measured. "Do you know who usually sits where you are right now?" She shook her head. "No." "No one." She blinked. "No one?" "I don't bring people up here," Damien said. "Not employees, not interview candidates, not anyone." Her breath stilled. Why her? He leaned back in his chair, studying her in a way that made her feel seen and exposed at the same time. "In the elevator, you said to me something most people wouldn't say even to someone they trust." She wanted to sink into the floor. "I shouldn't have," he interrupted gently. "But you did. And it wasn't foolish. It was honest." Her chest tightened. Honesty was something she rarely offered anyone. But there, trapped between metal walls and anxiety, she had spoken words she never meant to reveal. "I didn't say it for attention," she whispered. "I just panicked. That's exactly what made it real, Damien replied, and real things are rare in my world. She looked up, startled. For the first time, his eyes didn't look cold. They held something warm, something heavy, something she couldn't name. He leaned forward, elbows resting on the desk. "Miss Hale," he said quietly, "I'm offering you a position." Her breath hitched. "What position?" Damien's eyes locked with hers. "Personal assistant. You'll work directly with me." The room felt suddenly too warm. "Sir, I—" she swallowed. "I've never done that before. I'm not qualified. I don't even know how to—" "I'll teach you. Everything." Her chest tightened again, not from fear this time, from the weight of his words. "But why me?" she asked, voice trembling. Damien Sterling, the untouchable billionaire, looked at her.
The truth he never expected. Ion didn't leave her side the entire night. Illyra slept in one of the guest suites, still trembling, still shaken, while he sat on the sofa across the room, elbows on his knees, head bowed. He told himself he was only staying to make sure she didn't faint again, only to ensure she was safe. But the truth was far messier. He needed to be near her. Every sound she made pulled his heartbeat into chaos. Every soft breath from the bed reminded him why he canceled everything, for the first time in his career, without hesitation. When Illyra finally stirred, the first rays of dawn were painting faint gold lines across the marble walls. Ion straightened instantly. She blinked at the light, confusion crossing her face before last night's memories crashed back. She pulled the blanket up to her chin. I'm sorry you had to stay," she whispered. "I'm not," Ion replied, voice rough from a sleepless night. "If something is wrong, I'm not leaving you alone." Her throat tightened. Nobody had ever said something like that to her, not as reassurance, not as protection. She didn't know where to look. Ion stood slowly and approached the bed, stopping a safe distance away. "Illyra," he said softly, "why did you break down in that elevator? What are you afraid of? Who hurt you?" Her fingers curled around the blanket. She stayed silent for a long time, battling with herself, fear, shame, and embarrassment all choking her voice. But then she lifted her gaze. "Ion, people treat me like I'm stupid, like I'm weak, like I'm naive or disposable. And whenever men find out I have no experience, they turn into monsters. They either mock me or they want to—" She stopped, shaking. Ion's jaw clenched with barely controlled fury. He couldn't imagine anyone being cruel to her, someone so gentle, so timid, so painfully honest. "Illyra," he said with controlled calm, "I would never hurt you. And no one who works for me ever will. I'll make sure of that." Her eyes widened. She hadn't expected that level of seriousness from him. She hadn't expected him to care this much. "I don't know why you're being so kind," she whispered. Ion took a slow breath. He didn't want to confess the reason, but one look at her made something inside him break. "Because I can't stop thinking about you," he admitted quietly. "Since the day you walked into my office, terrified, holding those papers, I haven't been able to forget you." Her breath caught. "And when you told me the truth in the elevator, I felt something I've never felt in my life." She swallowed hard, hands trembling. I've never seen a woman speak such truth with that much fear. It made me want to protect you from everyone, including myself." Silence. Heavy, intense, fragile silence. Ayan's eyes glistened, not with fear this time, but with something softer. "Ayan, why would someone like you care about someone like me?" He moved closer, slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. He gently reached out and touched her cheek with the back of his hand, barely a brush, as if she were made of glass. "You think I'm unreachable," he murmured, "but you have no idea what you've done to me." Her breath shivered at the contact. Ayan's voice darkened further. "You confessed something so personal, something so vulnerable. And instead of thinking less of you," he leaned in, eyes locked onto his, full of intensity, "I've never respected someone more." Her heart felt like it stopped. Then a knock on the door snapped the moment. Both flinched. Ayan's expression darkened instantly. Whoever dared interrupt now was signing their own resignation letter. He straightened and walked to the door, irritation radiating off him. But when he opened it, he froze. Standing outside was his mother, regal, cold, sharp-eyed, and not pleased. "Ayan," she said, voice icy, "why did you cancel all your meetings yesterday? And why—" Her gaze slid past him toward the bed, where Illyra sat frozen. "Why is one of your employees in your private guest suite?" Illyra's blood turned to ice. Ayan's jaw set. This was not the situation he wanted her to wake up to. And his mother was the one woman who could ruin every